Welcome to Life List, a birding podcast.
Hello and welcome, everybody. We're back at Life List, a birding podcast with a fresh episode here. And I am George Armistead, and I am here with both Alvaro Jaramillo and Molly Brown. Guys, what's going on?
Hey, everybody.
All doing well here.
Yeah, a lot going on lately, right?
Whew.
Yeah, I think all of us have been busy in very different directions.
Yeah, exactly. We're all scattered to the far corners of the earth of late. It feels like all sorts of great birding locations, a lot to update folks on. But like, yeah, I mean, what's happening today, Molly Brown, in West Virginia?
Today, I am back home for the first time in a few weeks and checking out all the August wildflowers, actually. I've been getting into them more and more, and it just looks totally different than it did 2 weeks ago. So that's how I spent my morning, catching up on the flower updates here.
Nice. I saw Jimmy sent me a photo of your field of goldenrod, and I felt a little overwhelmed. I was like, here we have planted, I think, like 9 individual goldenrod plants in our yard here, and then I see that, and I'm like, oh man, like if I could have a fraction of that. It's really
I imagine you will before too long. So
yeah,
I think you'll be
so.
okay
I think
there.
we'll get there. Yeah, I think we'll get there too. But man, I wrote him back. I was like, that looks like a place where there's going to be some happy goldfinches in the near future.
Yeah, we hope so.
You know that the goldenrod is the most talked about plant on this podcast?
I know.
It comes up like every third, goldenrods,
I know. And like so many people really actually are trying to get rid of it. Here I am trying to propagate it. But yeah.
Well, we're not even into full goldenrod season yet. So I think it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah. Milkweed, the second most commonly talked about plant on this.
Yeah, we just put in some new ones here, man. Some new fresh milkweed. We got 3 kinds of milkweed here going now. 3 kinds. Yeah.
All right. Is it common, butterfly, and swamp?
The first 2 are correct. The third is maybe swamp, but it's world.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ooh.
World, like
That's cool.
WHORLDED.
Uh-huh.
So,
great.
yes.
How about nodding? Did you ever have nodding milkweed, or is that like a
No, I don't even know that. Yeah, that'd be a
Sounds
lifer.
Canadian.
Maybe it's renamed.
Could be just the accent.
Yeah.
Nice. Alvaro, what's happening in Half Moon Bay?
Well, I just flew in yesterday from Qatar. That was my sort of day stopover from South Africa birds and wine trip.
That's right.
And I found that all my tomatoes and vegetables are essentially like in desert conditions. So I had to like quickly go out there and try to save these plants so I can have nice homegrown tomatoes. But I'm not critiquing my other family members who don't see the
I was going to say, that sounded like, damning by omission there or something. It sounded like
it's my thing, right? So they're like, well, you're going to leave, then this is it's going to happen.
Well, now you're going to find out if the family listens to the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. I think we already know the answer to that one, Molly.
Pretty safe there, I think.
Yeah. Nice.
So that's what's going on here. But tomatoes looking all right if they survive.
Yeah, that's great. Ours are starting to pop. We got the little ones, the little like yellow orange ones. And man, we've been making some salads, some caprese sandwiches with them. Pretty tight, pretty nice.
Yeah, we can only grow little tomatoes here on the coast because we don't have enough sunshine, believe it or not. So we have these little mid-sized ones called early girls, and there's San Francisco fog tomatoes. We have all these like fog-loving tomatoes that they're all small.
Sounds like you could grow some Kona coffee over there, maybe.
Yeah, maybe it's like cloud
with the fog.
Yeah, it's like maybe it is getting a little warmer. Like I'm like dreaming of having pomegranates and persimmons. That might be the thing that happens if we have actual global warming hit here,
Wow, you're really that's a very glasses half full way to go there.
I know, but we'll see.
Nice. Well,
what have you been up to, George?
I was going to say there was among the various things wanted to cover today. I did want to let you guys, perhaps you already saw on social media, but one of the things I am celebrating this week is that I got my 300th bird in the county/city, the same boundaries of Philadelphia. And there was only one other guy who's done it previously. My mentor of Philly birding, Frank Winfelder, who actually passed away earlier this year, a great guy, and taught us all a tremendous amount about birding the city. It was a thrill to hit that mark because I've been eyeing it for a while, and I know Frank would have been. Probably he would have been even more excited for me than I was, and some of my friends were really, really jazzed about it too. So yeah, it was a long time coming. My buddy Patrick McGill was at one of our local patches here and spotted not one but 3 upland sandpipers, Bartramia longicauda, and I couldn't go that afternoon when he found them. But I just like crossed my fingers, I was like, man, I really hope those things stick till tomorrow. And me and my buddy Liam Hart, we shot out at dawn the next morning, and they were actually surprisingly hard to find. We did find one and saw it well, and then we were in kind of a dicey spot for viewing, arguably not on public property. And so then we scooted out of there and just tried to get in and out and saw it and with no muss, no fuss. And those birds are actually still around. People are seeing them actually in the same spot we are seeing them, and coming actually from elsewhere outside the city, because upland sandpiper has kind of become a rare bird of late. It used to be much more regular breeder around here, much more numerous migrant. And as kind of forest is regenerating and probably other factors going against them as well. And they're basically a curlew, right? I always feel like curlews struggle in this world, and their numbers are going down. So it's one of these birds I used to see a lot as a kid, and now it's kind of like a rare, scarce bird. So it was a thrill to get it. Really nice to see.
It's kind of a cool coincidence that Bartramia is your 300. It just isn't.
I thought you might spot that, Alvaro.
Bartram
I thought
was the guy.
William Bartram.
Back in the day.
Yeah, my other one of my main patches for birding here in Philadelphia is Bartram's Garden, which was the I think it's the oldest private botanical garden or whatever in the country still. And it's kind of the birthplace of American ornithology, depending on, according to some, I should say. But the Bartrams inspired Alexander Wilson, and I think Audubon worked some over, in the same area, but mostly Alexander Wilson, Sandy Wilson, as I like to call him, good Philadelphian. Bartramia is named after William Bartram, and so it is sort of a Philly connection bird for sure.
It was meant to be.
That's right, meant to be number 300.
That's cool. Congratulations! Now,
congrats.
Yeah, thanks.
Ask an uncomfortable question.
Oh boy,
uncomfortable question here. Is any of those 300 birds that is at all somewhat kind of questionable to you in your own mind?
Yes.
All solid.
I will answer a decided affirmative on that front. Yes, there are. In fact, I will tell you, there are 2 that I think, in particular, stand to be questioned. One of them I feel pretty good about counting. The other I feel 90+% okay about counting. One is monk parakeet. Monk parakeet, it's kind of an established exotic elsewhere between us. And, it used to be, there was a colony in Delaware. I don't think that's there anymore. They're around New York, and certainly they used to be around the Chicago area, various places elsewhere. So this bird was acting like a wild bird, running around. I kind of presume it was one of these established exotics. I don't know that for a fact. but I do feel pretty good that that's what it was. I mean, that it was obviously among parakeet, but whether, it was sort of an escapee, I would say no. Having seen lots of them in Argentina, where they're meant to be, this bird was acting a wild bird. The other is northern bob white, which most people, say now only occurs as, a reintroduced bird.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny to me because in Pennsylvania, it's basically only like nobody counts them anymore. They say all the ones you see here now are escapees, reintroductions. And I'm like, okay, yeah, but it is a native species. And we've sort of gone that way with, like California condor. Like, now we kind of like, yeah, it's a program, they were all captured. Now they're back. We count them. It's okay. But then like with Bob White, right across the state, South Jersey, Northern Delaware, everybody counts them like, they've always been there. But I bet you more than, pretty much all the ones there are there because of reintroduction programs of some sort or another.
So are these like reintroduction programs or stocking programs for hunting?
Well, there's both happening, right? In Pennsylvania, I don't know that there's actually any ongoing reintroduction program. But where we are in Philly, we're close to areas where they have been doing that. But of course, there are stocked birds that are, shoveled out of trucks or whatever for game hunting. But how you would know necessarily would be, tough to say.
Do you count ringneck pheasant?
Everybody else does. Yeah.
So
and that's an exotic. That's an exotic.
I mean, yeah, that's even lower. Yeah. I feel fine about both of those.
I agree with you.
I thought you were going to say, I once saw a poorly lit, something or other, and I was sure it was a whatever, And
no, all the other stuff on the list, actually, I like everything's solid. Yeah, I would say it's really solid. There's one or two, like I would say golden-winged warbler, I haven't seen here since the 80s. And I don't actually remember the exact date, but I remember getting my lifer in, 1984, 85 or whatever it was in Carpenter's Woods there. So I don't remember the exact date, but I did see one in Philadelphia. So anyway.
So Molly, do you think his birds are legit? Should he count them?
Or should he? I don't know. Is there photographic evidence the whole way back? Or?
Yeah, there is definitely not. But yeah, I feel good about it. Okay, Alvaro.
Yeah. Well, I think you could say that any one of these lists that's a big, long list of some kind, that somebody's, year list or whatever, there's always something that you could argue about, whether it's even big year listers, some that become very public, right? Or who knows? I think it's just once you get that many species all put together in a certain structure, there's going to be some things that are going to be a little like, okay, how do you assess
questionable? And it's like it gets down to pretty subjective stuff a lot of the time. I think it is. There are several folks in Philadelphia counting the scaly-breasted munias that nested by the airport, which did not survive the winter. And I'm like, to me, that doesn't feel. That feels less good. I didn't actually even go and attempt to see them because I was like, I wouldn't feel good about counting those. So
I think the shadiest of all birds that you can count to me is the red jungle fowl in Kauai, the highlands, and you got to wait. You got to see the ones with the dark legs. Those are wild. The yellow leg
I forgot about the dark legs.
You're like. I'm kind of seeing both here in the same place. Like there's yellow leg ones and black leg ones, and you're telling me one of those isn't wild and one of those is. Oh yeah, it's like to me, that's kind of shady.
If we're counting those, why aren't we counting the Key West ones?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I know they originally did arrive from Polynesian introductions of the moa, but there's been introductions of other chickens there for like hundreds of years now. So it's like, either just sort of say, they're all countable or not.
I don't know. Yeah.
But the yellow versus black legs, I've never bought.
Yeah, it's dicey. Bare parts. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway. That was fun. But what I would like to know, Molly Brown, you just returned from the great state of Arizona. I would dare say the best state flag of any state in the country. Arizona, how was that? Tell us about that experience.
Yeah. Well, I should back up and say I went to Arizona by way of Montana, by way of Dallas, actually. So
yeah, just a short skip and a jump, right?
Yeah, which I have driven out to Arizona a few times before, but decided to make up for a trip that I didn't take to Montana this summer and took a one-way ticket to Kalispell. That is a tiny airport, and I had a layover in Dallas overnight and caught up with a non-birding friend in Dallas, and then went up and met up with friends there and birded Glacier.
Oh.
Just for 24 hours or so, and then just took a few days to road trip clear down to Arizona, which was incredible. I really haven't spent much time in that part of the country at all. Hadn't been to Utah before, stopped at Bryce Canyon, camped along the way, and just had an awesome time getting there. And then was there in Tucson for the Southeast Arizona Birding Festival. We had a co-op booth there, and a group of us had a house together. So we did field trips and socials and ran the booth and tons of birding and hit all the highlights in Arizona. And it was wonderful.
That's awesome. It was you and Josh representing the birding co-op in right? You guys had the booth together?
Yep, me and Josh and Cedar Stanistreet from Vermont. So, I've heard my share of northern accents over the past week. Almost Canadian there. And then there were 10 or 12 co-op members there and at the festival as well. So we met up for a lot of different things.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. And where did you go? What'd you see?
Well, we hit the main spots. We went to Box Canyon, Madera Canyon, Mount Lemmon, a little bit of birding in Tucson. It's extremely green, very, very wet this year. I think the most I've seen it, and from the sounds of it, the most that most people had seen it. So the herbs were really good. We saw a lot of snakes.
Oh, wow.
Just
Which
not
ones?
even a couple different rattlesnake species. Whoa. And I, as I said, I've really been broadening my horizons and wildflowers and trees and herps and everything. So several lizard species as well, and just running into things when we weren't even really looking for them. One of the most fun nights, we were sitting there as the vendor hours were winding down and trying to decide if we would go out for a buff-colored nightjar. And then just decided to just go in the moment and took off because we also had a tip for ferruginous pygmy owls that were breeding there. So we went out and, did the whole, this wasn't clear down in the gulch, but not too far outside of Tucson, took a gravel road for 8 or 10 miles or something and had a pair of ferruginous pygmy owls. And then it was great. 2 species of jackrabbit there and a couple other things that were super fun too.
You guys get antelope jackrabbit?
Yep.
Mm. Yep. That's high. That's high on my want list for the mammals. Yeah.
Yeah, we had that, and it was awesome. They were, just in the road because we were totally out in the middle of nowhere. Scaled quail along the road and other good things. Kangaroo rats. Maybe a dozen kangaroo rats. It was fun.
Jeez.
We had the thermal scope, and then we ended up we were driving out for the buff-colored nightjar and couldn't drive the whole way. The road got too rough, so we walked a mile or so, and it was pitch black by then. So just took that out. We spent, 3 hours out there. It was a really late night. We didn't sleep much. Didn't get the nightjar, but had 3 species of owl there. And and poor wills, and just had a really fun time. And
was this California Gulch area?
No, it was north of that. It was kind of halfway between Tucson and there. Buenos Aires National Wildlife Refuge.
Right,
we were kind of in that area. Yeah, just right along the edge of the wildlife refuge, which I hadn't been to before. Pretty desolate,
Isn't that where that bobwhite, speaking of which, the really special all dark
the masked bobwhite.
I have no idea.
I think that's where they were working on, was that refuge, right?
But it's like super, super rare, like reintroductions.
Yeah. And it's a huge place, right? Refuge is enormous. Yeah.
It's a region.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's and it's, cool. It's hard to tell if you're in the refuge or not, or any of that. We crossed several border crossings and kind of washed out roads and all of that. Not border crossings, but border patrol stations.
I was going to say, rolling around out there.
We weren't hopping the border too much.
Yeah, you can run into some border control while you're out there. Border patrol folks.
There were a few. Yeah. There were helicopters around too, and there was kind of a stream of birders. We were the last group to go out that walked that last mile. They must see a lot of birders with flashlights, very obviously walking through that stretch this time of year. They didn't seem to care too much.
Nice. Oh, that sounds so great. The herps, I mean, the birding is phenomenal out there. I mean, but the herps are kind of the thing I feel pulling me to go back. And I still haven't seen a mountain lion either. So that's also like, it's such a good area for them. Not easy still, but such a good area for them.
Yeah. Josh took off and went to the Chiricahuas after I left, but you can go out and combine it with that. And it's a nice trip. I never get tired of it.
Yeah.
What are the thermal scopes like in field use? Like, are they, you like it? Like, is it useful? Yeah.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. It's a lot different than using binoculars. So I have the Pulsar Axiom, which I think is one of the most common kind of first round of ones to come out. George used it. We all used it in Uganda.
Yeah, we spotted our leopard. Yeah, exactly. I think you spotted a leopard. You're like, oh my God, it's a leopard.
Yeah, that's quite a way to break it in. It's a little different if you're looking at like an elf owl and a leopard through that thing. But they're absolutely phenomenal for finding things. And then you need a way to see them. You can see like a perfect outline. And it was really interesting to see it in the desert too, because of course it's hot and you're kind of waiting for things to cool off so you can start differentiating what is mammal and what's not. Doesn't work for herps. But then it's just like a perfect shape that you can see that's just bright white. So I'm just kind of looking through like all the different shades of gray. I use it in like basically the black and white mode, and you see the trees and the rock and cacti and everything. And then there's just a perfect beam, which could have been a sleeping songbird in that case, but it was an elf owl. And you can just see mice and all these other things. And then it's best to put a light on them or something to actually find them. But it's pretty cool. It's a really fun tool to have.
I bet in the desert too, it's especially great because everything cools down so quick, and then just you kind of left with the warm-bodied stuff. That I bet it really pops there.
Yeah, it's so open. We were kind of in a gulch, I guess, not the California gulch, but it was that kind of situation where you could just see up the hillsides, and I thought, I'm going to see a bear or something moving along here, or bobcat or coyote, and I mean, you can see a long ways. And yeah, once you kind of get a hang for it, and you can see things, in the sky, you can see nighthawks and bats and nightjars and those types of things too, super well. It's cool.
Yeah. It's high on my must acquire soon gear items list. I'm like, I've been wanting to get one for a while. They're not the least expensive item out there. They're not. They cost a fair piece, but for finding some things, they're just real good. And what these guys are doing at Cape May, with the bird migration at night stuff is pretty crazy too, where they're just some of the stuff they're seeing and able to photograph, by putting a light on them after they detect them with the thermal, is really fascinating. Fascinating stuff.
Wow. It is.
That appeals to me, having this night vision.
That's cool.
Yeah.
There are so many that are coming out. I'm seeing more and more each time, and a lot of them have photography equipment built in, or camera equipment. I haven't worked out how you really use that in a group setting. It's hard to kind of share, and then you can't explain where something is if it's pitch black and you can see the perfect outline of a raccoon or something and nobody else can. So that takes some practice, but
it's good for detection. Yeah, for the time, I'd say at this point, it's good for detection, and then you can try to light something up for everyone else to see it. Yeah. But yeah, I actually was, the first time I used them, I was using one of the Pulsars. It was one of the top models. I forget what it's called. And I was actually, not to sound like a Debbie Downer or what have you, but I was kind of expecting it to be like binocular vision, and I forget what the magnification is on these. It's usually like 6 power or something like that, or I forget.
I think mine goes 2 to 10. I always use
Okay.
it at 2. It's
Okay.
not worth zooming in.
Right, exactly. Like and it's great for detection, but a lot of times you can't necessarily tell what you're looking at exactly. Actually, one of the first times I used one was with Adam Riley in South Africa, and all of a sudden we like wheeled around a corner, and I saw there was a giraffe. So like the first thing I see is this, like, there was really no question what that was. But a lot of the time it's not so obvious as, say, a giraffe. You're looking at a little ball of something, and you're like, what is this? What's it going to be? And, sometimes you can't, even once you get a light, sometimes it can be tough to tell.
Yeah.
So folks, if you're thinking about getting one, you shouldn't expect it to necessarily be like your binoculars or even looking through your camera. It is really good for detection, but it's not always sort of the great actual for viewing.
Yeah,
take some
definitely.
practice.
It gives me a headache to use it for very long.
For too long.
It's not very comfortable to use.
There's a lot of light coming in too. It kind of floods your eyes with a lot.
Well, right. Yeah, generally in the dark. Although I have used it in other conditions. When I was in the Osa Peninsula earlier this year, I used it to find a mangrove hummingbird that we could hear singing. And it was just in super thick vegetation, and it was kind of up a big bank. And the temperature was even enough in the understory that we were able to find a hummingbird sitting. So
awesome.
I'm kind of working out, the use cases for it. But yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. The thought of finding like rails or sleeping nightjars or, rare snipe on an Andean paramo, that all is sort of, I think, within high possibilities.
Yeah, totally.
It opens a lot of doors. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, God. Another bit of technology that's going to change the way we do things. Kind of cool. See how creative we can become with this. Look forward to seeing my first one day. I still haven't touched one. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure it's coming your way soon.
Cool.
Yeah. Cool. And Al, you have just returned from South Africa, right?
Yeah.
And via Qatar? Like, weren't you going to do like a day of birding in Qatar?
Yeah, I did a day of birding. I rented a car and, just went off. Basically, it's like a small country, but I think I did like 500 kilometers in one day. It's just sort of crazy. It's like, this looks like a good place. Let's go over there. Let's go over there. Let's go over there. And just like did.
So no local help, or like, were there like some eBird hotspots you could track down, or?
No local help. I just went, eBird spots, things that looked interesting. And, and on my way back to returning the car, I saw the huge, stadium. Like there's multiple stadiums that they built for the World Cup, but there's this huge, I think it's called Khalifa Stadium. It's got this huge like tower that's like 10 stories high, but the entire tower is a lightable billboard. And I was just sort of like, oh my God, there's so much money flowing through this place.
Yeah,
it's just crazy. 6-lane highways and just odd stuff, It's a real place of contrast. Also, for me as a birder, Qatar was like a little troubling in that I never knew. Like there'd be these roads and dirt roads, and you could have access to the beach, but then there'd be these signs like this. This is a oil blah blah blah. Do not enter. Do not photograph. Do not whatever. Then there's like a sign like 10 feet behind that says welcome to the beach, and I'm just like, I don't know what's allowed here. Like I really have no idea. So one of these places was this great turn watching spot, and I'm just like, you know what, I better just get out of here. I'm not trusting myself in this place. There's a thing of like, you're supposed to know what is okay, but you really don't. And I could see birders sort of getting into trouble from just that lack of clarity of what is actually open property, because the roads are not closed or anything. They're just open. So you just don't know. Like there's even off, you're on the highway and you're going off to a town, and it sort of says you need, paperwork to basically enter this town. I was like, seriously? It's like an entire town owned by the oil company, and you just can't even go in there. It's sort of interesting. So that was fun. But yeah, South Africa was the main part of the trip, and that was fantastic. Food, wine, birds, mammals, walking with pangolin. That was cool.
Oh, wow.
Pangolin reintroduction program. So
yeah, how did that come about?
So we were told, when this place Manyoni, that there are people doing reintroduction of pangolin, of any pangolins that are caught from poachers, who are going to sell them. Then they take them to these sort of rehab hospitals, and they make sure they're fine. And then they start getting them to go out like supervised, because they don't run that fast. So basically a biologist walks with the pangolin for hours, making sure that the pangolin eats and learns how to eat and gains weight, because they can't release them until they're big enough to be truly indestructible. Like if they're little, a lion can still eat them, or a big predator. But once they're big, they become essentially untouchable, other than by poachers. So the whole idea is like they do months of allowing the pangolin to run around, feed, and gain weight. And then they invite the local birders and tourists are in this preserve, this private preserve, to to fund the project, and also to watch and hang out with the pangolin. It's pretty cool, like to watch them, like they, with their little arms, they like, take a rock over and move the rock, and then all these ant larvae are there, so they just start licking up the ant larvae, and then they move to the next one, dig things up. And the weirdest thing was that they walk like a dinosaur. Like they actually don't walk on four legs; they walk on their hind legs, and their front two they lift up. So they're kind of shuttling along, and you realize that they're kind of like they're bipedal, which is the most odd thing.
It's like a little mini T-Rex, T-Rex running around.
Yeah, and they have a tiny, tiny head, like just crazy small head for this kind of big creature. It was just fantastic. And the coolest thing is, out of all our participants, there were a couple, maybe a few more, that had never actually even heard of a pangolin.
Like, oh, wow.
Which is
it's definitely off people's radar. It's right. Yeah.
But if you've never known what this thing looks like or does, and then suddenly you're like, here's the pangolin, and they're like, what the hell is that?
Right. I thought you said like penguin.
Yeah. It's like
a circus
with a
act.
Nose, Yeah. So that was the best. Just some people who are like on the other extreme, like, I've always wanted to see a pangolin. I know it's not 100% wild, but it will be. And, this is great too. Like, what is that thing?
Yeah. Yeah, and you were saying it's like a dinosaur, which is, it totally triggered. I've never seen a pangolin. I'm like dying to see one. It's and they're as people you kind of alluded to, they're super pursued, super endangered, and they're in bad shape a lot of places because they're hunted and all that. But one of the things I remember, a friend of mine in India, he runs tours in India, and he was like, kind of at his house just hanging out. And one of the guys knew, that he was like a wildlife expert. And this guy comes in and like busts open his door, and he's like, you got to get out of here right now. There's a baby dinosaur here, a baby dinosaur. And he's just like, at first he's like, couldn't figure out. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh my God, he's got a pangolin. Like, it's got to be, baby dinosaur. It's got to be a pangolin, Yeah. But the guy, he said this like, local farmer guy was like, I got a baby pangolin here, or a baby dinosaur, And
have you seen that video of the fishermen out in Massachusetts that see the mola mola, the ocean sunfish, and they think it's a baby whale? I will have to send that to you because it is funny.
Oh man, yeah. I mean,
they
are funny looking critters.
We should catch it anyway. There's a lot of strong language in that video, I'll tell you. But.
I'll bet. Yeah, I also think it's kind of beautiful in a way. I mean, if not, I mean, not really, but that, one of the rumored ways that COVID began was perhaps from black market trading of like pangolin meat. And wouldn't it be like sort of just, desserts if the pangolin got back at what the human beings have done to it all these years by, of course, nobody knows how it really started, but it's funny.
Apparently bats are still the genetic info is that they came from a bat.
From bats, version. The early reports I think were that pangolin might have been involved, but it's since heard bats as well.
And who knows, it might have hopped from one to the other in some odd way because it has to hop eventually.
Yeah.
But
wow, that's amazing.
I mean, gained a lot of pounds. South Africa, you eat well. You're drinking some top wines, with expertise from Keith Valentine, who is our local guide from Rock Jumper. Is just a wine. He's like
he really
level
knows
wine expert.
Yeah, Keith knows his wine,
but he knows his wine. So we were tasting some of the best of the best, and
he's legit on that front.
Food.
Yeah,
and you don't. And in the safari trips, you don't move around that much. You're in this vehicle. So I got to say that I need to run around the, the environs of my house now to lose a few pounds. Cause,
no, you weren't taking a jog with the lions and the cheetahs out there, huh?
No, I mean, I must admit that would be, it would help you run faster, but I'm not sure that the long-term, weight loss strategy there, going outside of the compound to get chased by a lion was.
Well, you could lose weight. It just might be all of it.
Yeah, it's short-term weight loss.
It's so amazing. Like the birds are great, and I actually saw my most wanted birds for this trip. But seeing those mammals, a cheetah walking around at night, you see its eyes, and then it comes through, and you're like, oh my god, there's a cheetah, and everybody becomes silent, or elephants crunching on things and being kind of just, elephants. I mean, the weirdest things happen that just are impressive, like with this big male elephant eating and it suddenly decides to pee. The amount of liquid. I mean, I'm just thinking, it's like, oh my God, that's a lot of liquid. And you realize then you start thinking I wonder how much a blue whale pees in one go. I mean, it's all biology, but it's just outstandingly impressive when you see these things that you just see an animal going about its own thing. And
you're asking the right questions, Alvaro, as usual, asking the right questions.
I know. I mean, and as always, the mammal that really, really gets you is giraffe. I don't know what it is about giraffe, but you're like, look at that thing. I can't believe it's alive,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
More so than a lot of the other cool critters,
Absolutely. I remember on our Uganda trip, Molly, the first night, this dusk evening where we had these young giraffe, I don't know how old they were, but they were still pretty small and obviously young. And it was kind of this beautiful sunset, the light behind us, and they just, they're wandering right up to us and kind of checking us out. And everybody, I mean, you could have dropped a pin. Peter Burke was there, and Catherine Hamilton was overwhelmed. I mean, by it all. All of us were. But yeah, I think it's always surprising how amazing those animals are. Giraffes, they really are something else.
Yeah. It's true. No, it was super. And my most wanted bird is probably one that you would guess, George, since you've been there. And
I think I know the answers. Yes, the Procellaria. Procellaria. I'm trying to remember
whatever it is.
Perspicillata,
is it?
Yeah, perspicillata, right?
Perspicillata, right?
Yeah.
Spectacled petrel. It was the It's the weird, this is sort of like, you're not choosing the cheddar cheese as your favorite cheese, but you're going to some kind of
some
really
obscure weird
cheese, thing. But it's very obscure bird that is very rare, and it's been increasing in numbers, and it breeds out in the Tristan da Cunha kind of group of islands out there.
Yeah, smack out in the middle of the South Atlantic. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's no good place to see it other than to take a trip way out there to these islands, other than Cape Town pelagic, where it shows up more and more now, and it's like a white-chinned petrel with a big white circle around its eyes, kind of looks like
big white goggles.
Yeah, it almost looks like that dog on the Little Rascals, you know what I mean? Like had the little circle around the eyes. I think in any case, we were going on these sort of speedboats, right? Like not the classic pelagic boats. Yeah, not big, so you're kind of going out there and there's this big flock of sitting petrels, white chins, and we're going top speed. And I just saw it like out of the corner of my eye. It's like, there it is, like it's like puts on the brakes. And I could, and by that point, I mean, we were lost to birds and I just knew I'd seen it. And we just started looking and it flew by at that point. And we're like, oh my God.
Oh, wow.
And we found it on the water again. And then actually found a different one later on. It was really good pelagic with also another one that I hadn't seen before. The Atlantic yellow-nosed albatross showed up. So
nice.
But
that's a good looking bird.
Yeah. And I was super happy to have sort of self-spotted these birds that I wanted to see, because I was just so amped up on it, so it was I was had that special, I'm so focused on trying to find these things because I have this one shot, and so it was really gratifying. Nice photographs, good views, and great pelagic overall.
Was that was out of Cape Town?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The boats, they don't have you could imagine a fantastic pelagic with a little bigger boats, more stability, but it is what is there, I mean, but that was one of them. The other one was up in the Sani Pass. I had always wanted to see a lammergeier.
Yes.
And guess what? Showed up and there was a nest. We got to go see a lammergeier nest. So bearded vulture, which is what other folks know it as. So I was so happy with the food, the mammals, the wine, and my two most wanted birds on the trip.
Some high quality there.
High quality.
Lammergeier spectacled petrel. Man.
Yeah, it was super. So can't wait to go back maybe in a couple of years. Everybody let me know if you want to go.
Yeah. No, it's a great one. It's really
a great place. Yeah. George, what have you been up to?
Yeah. I just, I got back from a trip as well. Did a Hillstar Nature trip to Colombia, tour that I call the High Times in the Cordillera Central Andes. And, it went great. Went really great. It is a high times, because I call it high times because we are at elevation much of the time, pretty high up there. Kind of between 8,000 and 11,000 feet a lot of the time. Sometimes we get up to 13,000 feet. And at one point we get all the way down to 4,000 feet. And it's, it's pretty hot down there. But most of the time it's up kind of humid, wet, chilly. But it's so changeable, the cloud forest climate there. The weather is just so changeable. It's sort of 4 seasons in a day a lot of the time. And, but yeah, we were really focused on ant pittas. We were focused on hummingbirds. And it went really nice. We were based around in Manizales. The one thing that was tough was one of the birds, you had your targets for lammergeier and spectacled petrel for you, Alvaro. For me on this trip, one that I have been wanting to connect with for a long time was crescent-faced ant pitta, which is one of these little ant pittas, the grallariculas. They're to me, seeing all the grallariculas would be just awesome. And this is one I still remember I used to work for Robert Ridgely way back when. And I remember the first time he saw one, how excited he was when he came back from that trip. And I remember looking up that bird because I'd never heard of it at that point. But man, I want to see that thing at some point, and that was back in 2000. So it was a long time ago. And of course now they're feeding them.
It's the most ornate one of them all, actually.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Of the grallariculas, it's really handsome. But the spot we went where they've been feeding it, by the time we got there, hadn't been seen in 8 days. And it sounds like there might have been some territory rearrangement, where basically another pair of ant pittas, equatorial ant pittas, they think that something happened. Maybe one of the pair got picked off and they kind of moved. And since then, the crescent-faced ant pittas are gone. And they think because there's now an equatorial ant pitta hanging out where it used to be. But neither one were really coming in there. So that was kind of tough to swallow because we really wanted those. But to be honest, it really, that was a blip on the trip, but it was not that big a deal because we just saw so much other stuff. And we did have a bunch of ant pittas come in. We had beautiful bicolored ant pitta. We had beautiful slate crowned ant pittas coming in. Got really nice images of each of those. We had a bonus scaled ant pitta. We were not expecting that at all, and had that kind of come out of nowhere. And the other thing that was like pretty brilliant and was probably the highlight of the trip for me. The photo ops are out of this world, but like the mountain toucans are almost so ridiculous that you kind of forget about them. But they were two species of mountain toucans are just like hopping around like miniature dinosaurs themselves at close range. There, they've got really good setups for them, and they just come right in, and it's they're absurdly gaudy things. So those were amazing. But for me, this ocellated tapaculo was a bird I'd seen once before, heard many times, but we had it beautifully. We had a pair come in, and they were practically at our feet, like just really close. I got some pretty nice images of ocellated tapaculo. That it's a tough bird to see. They're around. They're not hard to hear. But to get good views is a really special thing, and to get photos is even more special. And that was the last day of the trip. We tried at one spot where they'd had real good success for them, and kind of dipped. And we were like, oh man, we've been hearing them all, a couple spots earlier in the week, and we'd kind of given up hope. And then all of a sudden, it starts calling again from really close, and before you know it, the two of them were just hopping around, and that was really special. It was really special, and yeah, we just had a great group of folks, and Colombia is always fun. There's a ton of birds, and they're super eager to host birders there, which is part of why Molly and I are excited coming up. We're heading back to some of the same spots I just went to in February, Life List event based in Manizales, and then going to the Cali Bird Fair. So if folks want to see some of this stuff, definitely check out the Lifeless page and come with Molly and I when we head down there in February. It should be a blast.
Yeah, I think it will be. I just think of Colombia and I just think of color and culture and just such charismatic birds. I can't wait.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the people know how to party and the birds kind of follow suit. They know how to.
Yeah.
Like
I don't know which came first.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, it's going to be great.
Yeah, my thought of like Colombian people in general is that they have a self-assured kind of idea of who they are, and kind of that means that they're much more quickly, even in the countryside, to come up to you and say hello and kind of become kind of friendly with you, rather than feel like, oh, I'm not going to talk to the tourist or bother them or whatever, or, just even like you find in some other places, like people are kind of out there and kind of willing to sort of engage, which is really good, really different, from, even like Ecuador. I think it's really different kind of aspect I've had. Love Colombia.
No, it's true. But after my first time there, I felt it was like instant community, one trip. And I was like, I just feel like I know a ton of people here now, It's still just built on it each time. Yeah. And you're heading there soon. Yeah, Molly? Even sooner.
Yeah, I'm headed there next month. And I'll also be headed to some of these spots that we'll be going to in February. I can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun. I've been trying to get to Colombia for a long time, so I think it's really happening now.
Yeah, and you're going to be hanging with our friend Giovanni there in Medellin. You got to. One of the things I loved there was the street art tour. I think I've mentioned that before on the podcast. That not a birding thing at all, although a lot of the street art does feature birds. And checking out Comuna 13 and all of that is, I'm sure on the docket for you. It should be a hell of a good time.
Yeah, I'm excited for all of it, and like you said, I'm just excited to see the culture that has birds so ingrained into it. I see that. I see it in the art and just so much community that is just there. And I guess we'll really get a taste of that attending Columbia Bird Fair and actually being side by side with the local birding community. And I'm excited to be a part of all of that.
Yeah, that's, I think, half the fun of this event. The birding, of course, will be front and center, but like right there with it is going to be all the Colombian birders. We're going to really get to engage with them a bunch, and eat and drink and have a good time. So it should be, you mix all that together, it's sort of like Al's Birds and Wine. We'll probably do some birds and microbrews or something there in Manizales and Cali. So
I just hope Molly can see the crescent-faced amphitta on her trip and describe the beauty of the bird to you, George, in detail.
How dare you, Alvaro? I swear.
That's the beauty of birding.
Scoundrel. My goodness.
Can't get them all.
That's
if
true.
We did, it wouldn't be any fun.
That's right. Absolutely right. Yeah. Well, after I got back from Colombia, I did get to work with the ABA Young Birder Camp here in Delaware Bay for a little bit. And man, an incredible group of kids. The campers, I mean, some of them are incredibly sharp. All of them were sharp in one way or another, but I mean, the birding skills of some of these folks are incredible. It was great to see Katie Warner there as well, the ABA Young Birder of the Year for 2021. She was there, and a bunch of other folks. And last time we recorded, I think, or one of the last times, I mentioned my disdain for tomato pie. And I will say that I was taking a beating before mentioning tomato pie last time, but since then, this beating has escalated to a whole nother degree. And my friend Owen was like, "We're getting you to New York, and we're going to get you some proper tomato pie, and at some point we will do that. And I'll be happy to try it again. And I still contend that if you put cheese on it, it'll taste better. But we'll see." The other pet peeve that while I was at ABA Camp Avocet, I got to try to make a little inroads on. I hope I did some good there. The kids are great. They could hardly have used any instruction from me because they were already well on their way. But at one point, we were sea watching, out there at Cape Henlopen in Delaware. We were sea watching. And I was like, all right, guys, now if we get on a bird here, do me a favor and do everyone a favor that you ever bird with here after. And if you see a bird and it's moving horizontally, do not say moving left to right or say moving right to left. Merely say moving right or flying right or moving left or flying left. It's fewer words, less confusing. And I was like, all you campers are fast. If the first two words out of your mouth are flying left, I'm sure a bunch of people are already looking to the left, whereas you're really trying to say the bird's flying to the right. And that is one of my pet peeves. And it was funny because Glenn Davis was there as well. And, at Cape May, this comes up a lot. You do a lot of sea watch and you're looking at a lot of birds in flight. And he was like, if there was one thing we could try to help these campers with, it's to get out of the habit of saying flying left to right or flying right to left. And I was like, dude, I just did that at the Sea Watch. I just did that like a half hour ago. I was like, it's a start. It's a start anyway. We're going to get there together. We're going to do it,
Yeah.
So I was proud of that. I was proud of that moment.
You're shaping the next generation.
Yeah. Now, if we could get meteorologists to name the wind, not from the direction it's coming from, but the direction it's going, North wind, right?
Yeah.
What do you think? The wind's going to the north. No, it's coming from the north, and you have to know that.
Yeah,
but
it's true.
I got to tell you, I've just learned that over time, but it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, since I looked at it as out of the north or out of the west, then then it's solidified for me. But otherwise for years I was like, oh right, I got a 180 on that.
Yeah. I think that's too far gone.
It could be
lying right to left. Yeah, why would you say
bridge too far? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. It's always been a thing. Yeah. Well, listen, guys, we're coming up on the hour here. Molly Brown, anything you want folks to know about that's coming up? Anything beyond what we've chatted about already?
Yeah, actually, I do have a couple things. First off, the co-op is running our second annual optics drive. So we're collecting used optics to go to our partners, which are organizations in other countries where optics are, one, expensive, but two, just harder and impossible to find. So if you have old optics that are used but working and you would like to donate them to someone who could get a lot of use out of them, we have details on how to do that on the co-op site, thebirdingcoop.org. Also, we have our first co-op trip that's an international one that's coming up in December, and that is in Costa Rica, and it's focused on the Osa Peninsula, and we're really excited about it. We're actually going with Osa Birds, which just is a conservation organization that has a really holistic approach to nest monitoring, and they actually buy some property, and they have a banding station. So we'll be at a banding station for a lot of that, and doing a loop around Costa Rica, and that's an 8-day tour in December. So please join us for that.
Yeah, that one sounds great. And like I mentioned, I got a couple of friends. I'm going to try to point in that direction as well, because I would love to be making that one myself. That should be a hell of a trip. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait. It'll be really fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Alvaro Jaramillo. Díganos.
Yeah. Next time I'll have to tell you about my plover misidentification in Qatar and what I learned.
Juicy.
That was kind of
juicy.
Cool. I will also got to tell you about potential very rare bird that I photographed in South Africa, but the photos are just not good enough. What to do?
Oh.
So I'll just tease you with those two. And otherwise, Peter Burke is leading a trip to Bolivia, to the macaw sort of lowland areas of Bolivia in November. We have 2 spots left. Now that I'm back, finalize some of the stuff on the Bolivia tour, but maybe people are interested. You can email me, alvaro@alvarosadventures.com if you're interested in that trip. Over to you, George.
Excellent. Nice. Good stuff. Yeah. Last couple things I'll note for folks for Hillstar Nature is a Maine trip, Puffins and Whales with Holly Merker and Seth Benz. That is coming up July of next year. Also, July of next year, Glacier National Park, where Molly just was with Josh Koval. Guiding for Hillstar Nature is Josh Koval, a glacier trip where we'll hit the national park and some nearby grasslands. Highly recommended from with Josh, who knows the area better than just about anybody could. So definitely recommend checking those things out on hillstarnature.com site. With that, I think we got to roll. And thanks, everybody, for listening. And we will be back at you soon. Take care, guys.
Bye everybody.